Bushfires and the fuel load. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. I have my stein of coffee, or stein of water today, and I thought we would have a look at a submission by scientist David Packham and Order of Australia recipient, and his submission to the Victorian government with regards to fuel loads and concerns back in 2015. Because we have the media and everyone is trying to pin this bushfire disaster that we're having in Australia on climate change and politicizing it, and it's concerning. And I'm worried that the majority of people out there are going to miss the real truth. Now, Australia has is a very dry continent and has a history of bushfire management. And I will just bring this up here. We'll bring up the carbon market. Okay, we'll bring up the Registry of Australian Carbon Market. This is for carbon offset projects. And many of the projects here are fire projects, backburning, savanna burning in north part of Australia. You can see here, these are done burning early to limit the amount of carbon that will be put into the atmosphere at a later date. And a lot of this are remote indigenous communities, providing employment up in the far north. You know, fantastic. I encourage that. The whole idea of, doing it once or getting continual carbon credits, that's a whole other market. But you can see Australia has a history of fire management. It's thousands of years old. Indigenous Australians were doing this a long time ago. Plants and animals have evolved to cope with this. So, this is why when I see in the media and the idiots in the comments go, no, it's climate change, yada, 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 I just shake my head. I don't understand why people don't appreciate the fact that the continent has adapted to the management strategies that have been deployed for a long time by the people who are occupying here. And you have to appreciate the fact that Australia is a pretty desolate place. We've got this slither on the east coast where we're all clinging to, a little bit on the west. And Adelaide, I don't know how it's surviving. But the Aboriginals lived here and they survived. And you've got to give them kudos for that without modern tech. That's quite impressive. So, any people saying, oh, this is just climate change, this, it doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense. And what's more concerning, if it is the fuel loads, we need a royal commission into this. We really do. So let's have a look. Let's read this extract from his submission to Mr. Tony Pearce, Inspector General for Emergency Management. And this is from 2015, guys. 2015. This submission is presented in the context of 53 years' involvement in bushfire research, which incorporates a decade of disaster education and fire meteorology policy development. I have some 53 published papers and have appeared as an expert witness on at least 10 occasions. The opinions expressed are frank and fearless and can be expanded and justified personally. So I would say this submission is based on a thorough understanding of this field. Would you agree with me there, guys? This should be taken very seriously. So the basic Victorian bushfire facts. There are some irrefutable facts about the drastic state of the bushfire threat to southern Australia. They are: 1. We have a failed fire management policy and practice in southern Australia, especially Victoria. The failed fire management is resulting in an increasing threat to our forest environment, especially tree deaths, water supplies, life and property loss, and a severe decrease in our quality of life. 2. The thermal scale of wildfire in Victoria exceeds by a factor of 20 our ability to extinguish. Just think about that with what's happening at the moment now, where we're having to deploy the military to evacuate towns. 3. Disaster-scale wildfires occur about once in every 30 years, but will become more frequent as fuel levels continue to rise. I would add to that, as people are living closer to these natural resources, to the forests, more people are engaging in activity in the bushwalking. That means more nutters are going to be close there to get their fire in the media. Blow-up fire weather causes disaster fires when ignitions and fuel are present. 5. Ignitions cannot be prevented. Yeah, you can't prevent lightning, can you? 6. Southeast and Southwest Australia fuel levels have risen over the last 3 decades as mismanagement has been imposed on our environment by misguided green ideology, political failure, and vested interests, and have now reached the most dangerous for the last 50,000 years. Just think about that, guys. And you've got to understand, forests have never been, through most of human history, these pristine little wild areas that we have now, particularly closer to human settlements. They were natural resources. A lot of European forests, they were managed. They were resources where the trees were grown in particular ways. People would go there and gather things from the forest and come back. They were highly used, much more than today. So this fantasy of just leaving all this scrub near our homes and our towns is just ludicrous. Number 7, the threat is ignored. Number 8, no government and its machinery is entitled to knowingly put its citizens deliberately in harm's way. The current land management policy and practice puts citizens in peril. Such acts, with full knowledge of the consequence, could fall within the definition of a crime against humanity, and when the next fire disaster occurs, and perhaps thousands die in Victoria, those responsible should be referred to an international court. And, I mean, that's a very drastic claim. But there's colleagues I know in the architectural profession that deal with designing for bushfire situations, and they've been quite critical of the whole practice here in Queensland too, particularly with the bushfire risk mapping. And he said it's been insane and ludicrous and just nuts. So there is I don't think this is just specific to Victoria. We've seen the issues with just tree clearing here in Queensland, where you need a permit to cut down a bloody tree because they spot it in the satellite and put a circle around it. Where someone got fined $1 million, and I did a video on this, after requesting from several departments here in the state how to design his fire break. And I know you may say a fire of this intensity, the fire break may not stop it. It's true. But that just shows you the rigmarole and the BS that people have to deal with to protect their own homes. People in Brisbane shouldn't be telling you what trees you can cut down. So, 4 steps to a solution. 4 conditions must be met to achieve a safe and healthy environment in Southeast and Southwest Australia. 1. We must have an understanding of the physical characteristics of bushfire. The laws of thermodynamics cannot be ignored. We do not have all the knowledge, but we have sufficient to make our rural land safe and our forests healthy. The historical role of fire, the historical role of fire in forming the Australian environment needs to be understood and respected. Gamragudge has provided enough evidence of Aboriginal use of fire to provide a solid basis for land management. And this is all referenced. 3. The actual effectiveness and techniques of fuel management must be demonstrated. Western Australia has 37 years of well-documented experience of large-scale fire management and its effectiveness. And we saw on the piece I did earlier, the houses lost in Western Australia are a lot less than other states. Perhaps that's just to do with the size of the state. And 4. The nation will need to once again make our forests healthy and safe. The destruction of appropriate fuel management policies and practice has resulted from the efforts of green ideology, political expediency, bureaucratic self-interest, and media ignorance. The primacy of life concept is a logical error, as rendering our environment healthy and safe using the Aboriginal use of fire will ensure that life, property, and water supplies are also safe and healthy. Even as far back as 1987, Gillard, Christian and Moore in the Australian Journal of Ecology stated, however, if fuel weights were less than 8 tonnes per hectare, the potential number of uncontrollable fires would be near zero. And in conclusion, unless the 5% target is doubled, or preferably tripled, a massive bushfire disaster will occur. The forest and alpine environments will decay and be damaged, possibly beyond repair, and homes and people incinerated. This is from David Packham, OAM. And this was provided as a submission in 2015. And he has his references. Burned areas percentage DC managed land, wildfires, prescribed burn area percentage average over 4 years versus wildfire area percentages. What else? So that's it. That's his submission, or an extract of his submission. 2015, everyone. So when you see the media, when you see the shills on Twitter, remind them of this. Share them this. And the sad thing is people are dying because of this. People are losing their homes because of this. 2015. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe in the comments. Let me know if you've encountered anything like this. I know there have been people I've spoken to, people have been leaving comments, where they've got properties next to national parks, where they don't allow cows to graze on the side of the road anymore to reduce that fuel load, where they're not doing sufficient clearing in the state forests. It scares the hell out of them. Some of them are just doing it anyway, taking the risk of getting fined. Just think about that. Think about that intervention of the state. This is why when I constantly, repeatedly say that the state is often just safety theatre, can get in the way of people taking care of themselves. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and want to help me produce more content, I have a Patreon where you can make a small monthly donation. I also have a membership here on YouTube where you can join and receive similar benefits, including badges and emojis. And we have affiliate links with Amazon, eBay, and Independent Reserve, where if you make a transaction, we receive a share of your purchase. And finally, we have pocket squares on our blog, handmade by Rachel, and PayPal if you want to make a donation like that. Thank you to everyone who's supporting the channel, and I will talk to you all later. Bye for now.